Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Wantrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and there are certain guests that I get so excited even before I'm behind a microphone. And today's guest is such a shining example of that, because the more that I looked into the work that she does and the work she's going to share with us here on the air together, the more I realize I want to be the best version of me. I want to do amazing work. I want to be an incredible leader. I just want to put good things into the world. And I'm so excited for all of you to get to experience her energy as well here on the air, because I know that you'll all feel that exact same way. So let me introduce you to today's guest. Her name is Brandi Croghan. Brandi is the founder of the WhatIf Collective and the creator of the WhatIf mindset, which is a framework that helps leaders and organizations unlock their full potential through curiosity, connection, and belonging. With over 2 decades of experience in global learning, leadership development, and employee engagement, Brandi has partnered with leaders and teams across biotech, pharma, and the beauty industry, including her time with the iconic hair brand Bumble and Bumble, to help cultures where belonging, innovation, and high performance intersect. She's known for her highly engaging facilitation style and her ability to spark transformation in the way that people lead and collaborate, and trust me, she does all of that with a bundle of energy that you're all going to love here on this beautiful day. So I'm excited about this one. I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Brandi Croghan. All right, Brandi, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Brian, for having me. It is a thrill to be here, and I'm excited to have the time with you.
Heck yes. Brandi, you and I were talking. We couldn't contain ourselves when we were off the air, just talking about all the cool things that you're up to these days. So I'm going to start by putting the spotlight on you. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Brandi? How'd you start doing all these cool things?
Oh, wow. Well, Brian, sometimes there's moments in life where they're just moments that happen, right? And so this moment for me, having the WhatIf Collective, launching it in April, and putting together the WhatIf mindset, which we'll talk about in a little bit, just getting ready to launch this learning and leadership framework. It was really the culmination of all of the moments of my life and my career, from that very first job, that I got right out of college until this moment. And I think, like so many people out there, no matter what industry you're in, for me, I've spent a lot of time in the pharmaceutical industry, the biotech, beauty industry, like you had mentioned in the intro. And I've been downsized multiple times because of, reorgs and buyouts and the whole thing. And so this moment came at the beginning of this year in 2025, when there was a restructuring at my organization. And for the first time, I just thought, what if I bet on myself this time, right? I think that those moments happen and we think, I have to find another job. I'm going to get on LinkedIn. And I did that. I did all of that. And then there was just this very organic curiosity in me, and this phrase that's lived with me for the last few years, what if, and staying in this moment of curiosity. And it just felt like the right moment to bet on me. And it has been a journey and a ride that I'm having a blast with so far. And we're going to see where it goes.
Yeah, I love that overview, Brandi, and the energy that you bring even in that overview, because I'll share this with you very transparently on the air, is that it feels like I'm welcoming someone home hearing you talk about these things, because I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years now, Brandi, and I really struggle to relate to 9-to-5ers because I just haven't lived that experience. But I know how much energy I have as an entrepreneur, and it's so clear that you have that as well. And it's fun to imagine you in the corporate workplace, because I feel like you must have stuck stuck out like a sore thumb with that what if mindset, with this abundance of energy and excitement that you have to do great things and to be a great leader and to just be the best version of you, putting these things into the world. What did that transition feel like? I'm going to pick on you a little bit since you just started your business this year, but what did that transition feel like? Did you feel out of place in the corporate world? How's that, the what if mindset? How is that manifested in the corporate world? And then, of course, bringing it right to our lovely home of entrepreneurship. What's that transition been like?
Love that question. And so one of the other things that's not in the bio that I'll share, and when you say kind of feeling like a fish out of water in corporate, my dad owns or started a family business, a pool and spa company. And so I grew up having my dad start this company from the ground up, build it into something. And, this company is now 50 years old. And I never knew another life other than watching my dad have that grit that it takes to get up every day and make it happen, Not everything's going to go your way. And there are times and moments where, it's desperation. Like, what happened? I'm just being thrown this curveball, but you're resilient and you get up and you say, okay, well, what if I try this? What if I try that? So my life was really modeled from my dad, from my family, knowing just that was the only way I knew. And then when I graduated from college and got my first corporate job, which happened to be in pharmaceuticals, there was a freedom in that because of the nature of what I did. I was in sales for years and years and years. So all the salespeople out there who, you make your own success. You go out every day, you get up every day, you decide to go see that next customer, that last customer, you decide to get strategic. And so as my career progressed, and then I got my first training job with Estee Lauder companies, with Bumble and Bumble, that is where all of this culmination of, wow, I can see a light bulb go off in people. And at first it was with my individual customers, right? I would see people, just by telling stories, sharing stories, connecting to people in a really authentic way. Because that for me is something that just, I live and breathe by it, by just having that connection to people and understanding them, what makes them tick. I really want to know that. And so I would see people try different things or take a suggestion, or we learn something together. And then as I started getting into the learning and development and the training space, that was where, for me, I was, when I moved out of sales into more of a corporate role, it was funny because I felt like I was always, and probably some of my former colleagues will attest to this, right? It was, I would always just really try to infuse that no matter what, right? I could have been in a sales training where it was in a box, right? Hey, just let's do this. But always trying to layer in that humanity of connection with each other and how powerful that can be. And so when this moment came for me of going out on your own, giving it that go, it was really kind of a natural thing for me to do that. And there are days where I still say, what am I doing? This is absolutely terrifying. I can't believe I'm doing this. And then there are days, as you know, right? You're an entrepreneur and it's like you're lighting the world on fire. Everything is just clicking and the next thing is right there. And so you fluctuate between that. Am I absolutely insane? And I have it all together and all figured out. And I don't know that ever quits, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Brandi. And that's why I'm going to go somewhere with you here in today's conversation that I've never gone in 1,300 plus episodes. And it's because I want to talk a little bit about, it's quite philosophical for an entrepreneurial podcast, nature versus nurture. Because Brandi, when I look at the body of your work and really how that translates to tangible business results. I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about today is leadership, team development, building that culture, high performance, all of these really big and important business topics. And I think about the way that you do it. It gets me excited. I know it's going to get a lot of listeners excited, but I also picture the opposite of this, which I presume to be, in my head at least, it's jadedness. And how many people out there are jaded by their work, jaded by their teams, jaded by the mountain of things that they have on their to-do list. There's so much stuff there. And Brandi, I'm sure you've gotten this throughout your life. I certainly hear it all the time where people are like, well, yeah, of course it's different for you. Of course you can have the what if mindset because you're optimistic and you have so much energy and all of these things. Let's talk about that because you use the word transform in so much of your work. Your work is transformative. How do you bust through that nature versus nurture debate and that limiting belief that some people may have of, well, Brandi, I'm just, I'm not made that way. I'm super shy. I'm super quiet. I'm super introverted. How do you get past all that in the work that you do?
Oh my gosh, it's such a great question, such a big one. And I want to come back. I know we could come back and talk about this 10 times probably, and never exhaust it. But every time I'm in front of a group, and it ranges from, I'll be in front of a group of salespeople who are really outgoing, right? They get it. Oh yeah, I'm going to be curious and connect, and I'm not afraid of anything, and I want to be bold and brave. And then I've sat in front of more scientific teams and data-driven teams. And I'm actually getting ready to do a retreat just this week in California where we talk about career development and being bold and being brave and getting out of our comfort zone and having a growth mindset, because this team is really struggling with, I think I'm brave. I think what people know what I'm good at. And I think people, I'm pretty good at communicating it, but I don't know. And I don't really know where to start. And what I would say is it doesn't matter where you fall or what your personality is on the scope of, you don't have to be outgoing or, an outgoing, overly talkative person to be curious. You can just ask the next question that might get you some information, some perspective that you didn't have before. And so sometimes it's being brave or being bold and just asking. I always say I'm anchoring into curiosity. If I want to tell somebody something, I try to frame it in a question so that I can get information. And so no matter what your personality, or no matter how somebody might look and say, oh yeah, that might be easy for you to do, it's harder for me. Everybody asks questions, right? Everybody. It doesn't matter what we're doing in our life, whether we're boarding a plane, checking into a hotel, getting a new project at work. We're always asking questions about, what does that mean? And what could I do better? Is there something I'm not thinking that I should be thinking? And so really to me, what I try to really impart on people is that it doesn't matter. You don't have to be outgoing to do this. You just have to stay anchored in curiosity and ask a question that you just didn't know. And that's the bravery you need. And sometimes, people forget, and I forget too. People love to talk about themselves. And so you ask somebody a question, hey, tell me more about that. Tell me about your experience doing that. Or I don't quite understand what you mean by that. Could you help me? People love to help other people inherently. It's just who we are. We're wired like that. And so when you ask people for help or ask somebody to understand something, I guarantee 99% of the time you're going to get a receptive answer to that. So that's kind of where I anchor in, is around always that curiosity and perspective taking.
Yeah. And even in that answer, Brandi, I feel like you just revealed what I have found, and I interview people for a living, and I have found that this is the most effective question anyone can answer. And it's not even really a question, and it's certainly not very complicated. You said those words right there. Tell me more. Even if it's something as simple as tell me more, it just invites and creates so much space to go deeper with our fellow people. And I think that that's such a powerful approach. But I've got to ask you this, because something that I really appreciate about your work, Brandi, and it's actually when this show first launched, we were only 3 days a week all the way back in 2016 when I created this show. And Monday episodes were always Mindset and Motivation Monday. And my argument has always been that you cannot be an entrepreneur. You cannot excel in business. No strategy will save you if your mindset isn't right. And obviously it is so deeply embedded in the type of work that you do, Brandi. And I would imagine that, when it comes to sales, you sell the results, you sell leadership and team development, you sell high performance inside of different organizations, but you also very openly acknowledge that to get there, we have to talk about mindset. Let's go there on the air, because I know a lot of people want to skip the mindset stuff and they just want to be like, nah, just tell me how to be a good leader. Like, Brandi, let's just skip all the mindset stuff. Let's go straight there. What's the approach there? Why the what if mindset? How heavily does that factor into the work that you do and the results that you deliver?
Oh my God. Well, it's everything, right? And I have one of my favorite things to do is when I am in front of a big group of especially, commercial leadership, people who are driving revenue for organizations, I always ask them it's gone from big ballrooms full of hundreds of leaders. I'll ask, how many people want the highest performing team in this organization? Every hand goes up. How many people want to keep your top performers on your team? Every hand goes up. And what I tell them is, I'm here to give you the secret to that, right? It's free. I'm gonna tell it to you. You cannot skip this creation of trust and connection between you and your team and each other. It cannot be left out of the equation. And I did a lot of work with diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. And what I found was that in the organization that I did that work in, we really anchored into belonging, because there were a lot of leaders who are like, you know what, this is just the fluff. We don't need to talk about belonging. We don't need to talk about connection. I just want results. And I talk about it in terms of data. There is a wealth of data out there about people's performance, employees' performance, when they feel like they belong, when they feel like they're connected, when they feel trust within their team. Their performance it goes off the chart, and it's data. So if anybody is that revenue driven, data driven, I just want to have performance, tell me how to be a good leader, you can't skip that. And there's data behind it. And so I always loop that in of, this feels on the surface soft, right? And you always in this space are battling people or leaders who, they're putting a meeting agenda together. It's like, what do we have time for this? Do we have time to talk about connection and communication and building trust and high performance, how it relates to that? Absolutely. And the work that I do with leaders, and I mean, my face lights up, right? When I get a call from a leader, hey, Brandi, we want to bring you into our team meeting, and we have 2 hours, 3 hours. This week, it's a half-day retreat style. I mean, the leaders that are carving out time for this and seeing the tangible results in their team that's measurable over time, it's so motivating to watch it happen in real time. And so you cannot skip that part of the equation. If you want performance, you have to start with the mindset. You have to start with the connection and the belonging and building that trust in your team.
Yeah, I love that answer, Brandi, especially because, I mean, what we're talking about today, it transcends just entrepreneurship. It transcends business leadership, professional sports teams. Like, all of those guys these days, they are forced to train their mindset just like they train their bodies. And it's such an important part of this equation. I've got to ask you, though, you called it out that some people may view it as soft. I have to ask you, what does the work look like? Because, Brandi, we weren't raised intentionally developing our mindset. We were raised in very traditional academic institutions and approaches that we don't know what that work looks and feels like, and not everyone's comfortable to go there. So I'd love for you to take us behind the scenes and share with us what that work looks like with leaders.
Yeah, it really, to me, it starts with identifying and meeting people where they are, right? So this isn't a one size fits all equation even. And so I'll sit down with a leader and they might say to me, Brandi, I'm looking for a workshop on, high performance growth mindset. I'm looking for a workshop on how to connect my team. Everybody feels disconnected. And so we'll start by really talking about, what does that mean? Tell me what you mean by that. You want to create trust on your team. People seem disconnected. And so I really try to do that analysis of getting to the root of it and what people mean when they say that. And a lot of times it is a communication issue. A lot of times there's team dynamics in play. A lot of times, so many companies, there's so much change happening right now with people being reassigned onto a team that they never thought they'd be on. They are doing a job they never thought they would do. Development looks different right now in the world, but people are really craving this, just in general, right? This sense of connection, this sense of being heard, of being able to show up in the workplace authentically. And so we put those components together, right? It's almost like I talk about principles and I talk about things that change and things that don't change, right? So there are principles, things that just, it doesn't matter. They don't change. And that's one of them, is that every single one of us want to be seen, heard, and understood. Every single one of us. And so how do we incorporate that then into the things that do fluctuate? Because we're humans, right? We have good days and we have bad days and we have overloads with work and stress and change. And so then how do we incorporate these elements that are just there, that they never change and they're evergreen, and we infuse that into a journey for a team. So again, I don't want to come in and do a workshop where I leave, you never talk about it again. We really try to build a journey for a team to where, hey, we're going to start on this path together and we'll continue it. And even if I'm not there, right, I can't be there at every team meeting they have, but trying to equip them with the tools after I'm gone to continue to keep those same conversations going, to speak that language with each other that they want to speak and the ways they want to work together. So that's really my goal when I start out with a leader behind the scenes is getting to the root of it and then stripping away all of those things that just remain no matter what. And again, I always come back into curiosity, and that's what the WhatIf mindset is anchored in, is this curiosity. So when I'm with a leader, I ask a lot of questions and really try to get to the core of what they need with their team.
Yeah, I love that, especially because you address something that we all inevitably face as business leaders, whether we're in a full-time job or just we own our own businesses, and that is, of course, change. I feel like everyone's talking about change these days because the world and society and technology and business is changing more now and more quickly than ever before. And Brandi, we've seen that manifest in so many different ways, particularly since 2020. Obviously, when COVID hit, more and more people started to work remote, which that presented its own opportunities and challenges. And then, of course, the mass adoption of AI these days is something that leaders are also trying to navigate. We can also use that as leaders to our advantage. We have all of a sudden this most incredible thought partner that we can bounce ideas off of. You've worked not only inside of the corporate world, but you've worked with so many cool and interesting and ambitious leaders across industries. What's your take on how we can navigate those ever-changing waters, especially surrounding AI and remote work and remote teams these days?
Yeah, for leaders, one of the things that we talk about, especially with the most senior leaders, and honestly, it's leadership. To me, everyone's a leader, right? We're all leading because we're all helping in some way to advance, whatever it is that we're doing. But at the most senior levels too, there's a lot of pressure with leaders to feel like you have to have all the answers in the midst of all this change. And it's not so, right? It's giving ourselves as leaders that freedom, that vulnerability, that I may not have all the answers, and that's okay. But I want to be as transparent with you as I possibly can. I want to set the stage for what this looks like as we work through it together. And having that open dialogue, which again, it builds trust. And so that change piece and that pressure that leaders put on, we all put it on ourselves of, I have to feel like I know everything. But sometimes it's okay to say we don't have all the answers, and that's okay to say it.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a thing that I frequently phrase it on the air here about in entrepreneurship, we have a natural tendency to look inward for the answers, but oftentimes the best answers are outward. And that's why when listeners email us and they say, what's the best marketing channel? What marketing decision should I make? I don't know. And actually, you shouldn't know either. You have to ask your customers. That's where the answers really lie. And it's really cool hearing you show us how that manifests in leadership of, hey, the answers don't have to come from within me, and I don't have to have the answers. Actually, it's that collaborative approach to it that makes team members feel even more valued. So it's really cool to hear that, Brandi. I knew that time would fly by with you today, but I do want to put you on the spot very directly as an entrepreneur that we've always been waiting for, and that I'm so excited you began that. I love something you wrote in your guest questionnaire. Listeners know that nothing's scripted here, is that I do my own research. You have no idea what questions I'm going to ask you, but I really love the fact that you fully embrace that entrepreneurial concept, and you wrote in your questionnaire about leap and the net will appear. Brandi, I know that that's a situation that so many listeners worldwide, they've heard that concept before, but they probably haven't as openly accepted that challenge as you have done so this year. So talk to us about that approach, because it is scary, but I mean, I think it's also probably very exciting. I'd love to hear how that part has been for you.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a conversation when I was just starting out, when I decided to, put my name out there and start doing this. I had a conversation with a senior leader in learning and development, and she told me the story about leap and the net will appear. And I looked at her in that moment, and it was like you said, you hear that phrase a lot. And that was it for me, is that it was everything about the what if mindset, the what if idea. And you said it earlier, Brian, is that what I live and breathe about this is that this isn't just business or leadership, and it is all those things, but it's life, right? It's about us being a braver human, a better human, of doing the things that we are capable of. We sometimes doubt ourselves so much. And when this person said that to me in my first weeks of doing this, I've said it, it's stuck with me, and I say it all the time, is that I just leap, and the net's going to appear. And she said to me, Brandi, I think your net is appearing. I see your net appearing. And that was so amazing to get that validation from somebody who I respect, and, somebody that's willing to share that with me. But I will say it's scary. And there's moments, like I said, where you feel like, what am I doing? But every time the net, it really has appeared. And just when I think, what is the next move? What should I be doing next? What should I be asking next? It appears. And I think I might have written in my bio, I hiked the Camino in Spain earlier in the summer. And there's a saying that is much like leap and the net will appear. When you're hiking the Camino, which for those of listening who don't know, it's a pilgrimage that people from all over the world come and hike for many reasons. But when you hike the Camino, there's a phrase, the Camino provides. So I was out with a backpack for 7 days in Spain hiking, and somebody said that to me, Brandi, remember the Camino provides, because sometimes you just didn't know what was going to happen next. And there it was. I had a friend that I met on the trail that gave me an ibuprofen, right, that I needed because my knees were hurting so bad. But it's that same sentiment, and I just love it so much. It manifests itself over and over and over again. And so I'm gonna keep saying it and encouraging people to do it.
Ooh, Brandi, that's the goosebumps moment for me. Every interview that I do, there's that one moment where it's just goosebumps everywhere, because it so deeply resonates. And this is the real stuff. This is what we all experience as entrepreneurs. And truth be told, it's one of the reasons why I love getting on the air as frequently as I do, because I think we should all have these conversations more openly and more publicly, and we should share it with people all over the world and over 150 countries tuning in. And I'm so grateful for all of you living this entrepreneurial journey. So, Brandi, that's some incredible advice. I don't know how you're going to top it for this final question that I always ask, and that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both wantrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their own growth journeys, and very much knowing that you are one of us, you are a fellow entrepreneur, what's that one thing that you want to leave them with today?
It is stay grounded in that what if, right? To me, what if is more than a mindset. It's a movement really of asking, what if I looked at this differently? What if I just stayed more curious? What if I got a different perspective from somebody I may never have asked advice from? So stay curious and stay anchored into that what if mindset, which is just natural curiosity. And you will see that shift, those small shifts, because change, it doesn't have to be this huge monumental thing. It can be just this small shift, right? Sometimes it's those things that are easy to say and really hard to do. And to me, that's what all this is really about, is staying consistent and staying curious and going after what really lights you up, what motivates you. And we all have that, and just to be brave enough to do it. And I've been so happy to be able to share this time and these moments with you, Brian, just to share that sentiment.
Oh, I'm so grateful for that advice. Here on this cold day, you and I are both in Tampa, Florida, so we have no right to complain about the cold, but I'm so grateful because I knew that no matter where listeners are, that your message is one that lights people up. You use that term, and I so deeply resonate and agree with that term. Yours is one that warms us up and gets us excited to step into that next level, and I really know that all of what you shared here today is going to do exactly that for our listeners worldwide. So, Brandi, I also know that listeners are going to want to see this work, because I always remind them that this can be the beginning of their journey with the amazing guests that we have on the air, because you're obviously out there every single day doing incredible work. So for people who want to find your business online, find all the great work that you're doing, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Oh, thank you. Yes, go to my website, which is thewatifcollective.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Brandi Croghan. You can also follow the What If Collective on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well. And it is the real What If Collective on Instagram. So connect with me on all the socials, and I can't wait to meet everybody and start conversations.
Yes, and listeners, you already know the drill. We're making it as easy as possible for you to find all of those links down below in the show notes, no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. If you think to yourself, Brian, your last name is hard to spell, but I don't even know how I'd begin spelling Brandi's last name, then no worries. We're linking directly to Brandi's LinkedIn down below, so you can click right on through, connect with her, check out her business website, add her on all the socials, so don't be shy about checking out those links down below. Otherwise, Brandi, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. It was really good to meet you. I appreciate you having me.